am happy and honored to present the BVM Carmelite Award to Mrs. Lynn Schuster.
I don't need a microphone either, but what the heck. When Sister Mary started today with the Old Testament reference, I thought, well, she's thinking of me. You know what's so fantastic? Jen Burkhalter, fellow nominee, was one of my former students. Sister Mary was one of my former students. Kathy, and there's probably other people in the room. And do you know what a gift it is to spend in your life's work surrounded by the people who are such standouts in the world? One of my greatest joys is working with Jen, who was once one. I'll tell you a lot of stories about Jen.
I'll be at the bar.
Is that now she mentors me in so many ways. This morning I was having a little frustration. And I ran to Jen and I said, Jen, you know, tell me what to do with this. I'll tell you about my 33 years at Carmel. My first day at Carmel, I think we were talking in the car and my mom said today, she said, Lynn, one of the things was you always knew you wanted to be a teacher. And I thought, you know, she's exactly right. And when I was a kid, and I'd play nun, and I'd be a teacher, and I had the Sisters of St. Joseph, and they had these big gimps, they called them, these white collars, and I thought it was the coolest thing that no matter what we needed, it was under there or in the So my first image was, you can help people by just going in there, going down there. And I wanted to do that. My mom was my first teacher, and my mom always expected the best from us. There weren't any rewards. It was just expected, and in doing that, she taught me that I was capable of accomplishing those things. When I came to Carmel 33 years ago, I was a young thing, like my little daughter over here. I found that expectation again in the Sisters of the Blessed Virgin Mary. They expected the best, and they created a world in which that could happen. One of their values that I appreciate most is the value of freedom. And at first when I came to Carmel, I thought, well, freedom for the world and democracy and freedom for those who are oppressed, but it's freedom for the individual too. And I was free to be. I did some strange things in the classroom. I could try things out, I could be myself, and they invited that. They trusted that I would do what I was called to do. And I wanted to fulfill that trust. Sister Margaret Garrity, Sister Peggy, as we called her, is the one who hired me. And I think of her as my model now in my role as principal, because she taught me about leadership. She taught me about having your door open. She taught me about having high expectations. She taught me about accountability, and I had to be accountable a few times for the little tricks I tried to pull as a younger teacher. But she always trusted and moved forward. And that idea of freedom. And I began to understand that education would offer that to the students with whom I worked. That was the gift we could bring them with education. The freedom to be who they are and to go out into the world and carry those gifts and make a difference. They taught me about charity in action. It wasn't through words ever, but it was through what they did. Sister Mary, my first experience at Carmel, I was a sophomore homeroom teacher, and Sister Mary was like my mentor. And she would follow me, and she'd say, Lynn, are you aware that this is happening? You need to do this. And she'd call me into awareness of what it was I was supposed to be doing, always looking out, always anticipating what I would need. And so she taught me about what that charity means in action in the school, of anticipating, understanding, and attempting to reach out. I worked also with the Carmelites, and I was privileged to work with Father Bob Carroll for 14 years, who really taught me about spirituality and kindness, how you carry your faith into whatever, whenever, and wherever. It's part of who you are. And in that role of principal, he showed me how that lives itself in whatever job you do. I am very blessed because when you get older, you have a tendency to look back a lot. You have a tendency to enjoy the moment too a little more, I think. You don't sweat the small stuff as much as you used to. That's why we love our grandkids so much. We celebrate everything they do. Things that would bug me when I was a parent, I now think is the cutest thing that could ever happen. But and as you look back and you reflect, and I do that a lot, and I think how blessed my life has been to have been grounded in Carmel, to have grown up in Carmel, to have taken on the values that the founding orders, the BBMs, and the Carmelites brought with them in the hopes of sharing with the greater world. God has blessed me with many things, and Carmel is one. I had the security of 33 years in a variety of roles, as Kathy mentioned. So I thank you, and I thank you on behalf of all of the other people who walk the halls of Carmel with the same connection, with that dedication, with the other nominees who've been mentioned here today who have been life givers to this place. It is something, and I use the very trite word purposely, even knowing I'm an English teacher, it is a very special place, and when you live it, you realize it. Very hard to put into words, but it happens because of the people I've been privileged to work with. They are life-giving. We keep each other centered, I think, and I thank God for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you to the Carmel Catholic High School Alumni Association members for giving me this award. I am honored. And I want to thank my friends and family and coworkers who are here tonight showing their support. I have to say that my family has made sure the award didn't go to my head. Ever since learning of it, my children have reminded me of this distinction. Mom, it's a little dark in here. Why don't you show your lamp of knowledge? That's a great idea, Mom. Maybe you're using your lamp of knowledge. They keep me humble, that's for sure. I had my speech all ready to go when I left for work this morning, and I have a new speech in front of me because of something that happened on the way to work right after I pulled out of our driveway. I'm driving down the street, approaching our first stop sign in our neighborhood, and I slow to a stop, kind of a rolling stop. I'm leaning over to, I think, press the button on the radio, and I look up, I'm ready to accelerate, and I do slightly, and I slam on the brakes because there's a gal walking her dog 5 feet in front of the car. How I missed it, but I did. And of course, I had one of those moments, those what-if moments. Why did God, make me look up at that moment? Because it really could have been a catastrophe. So I started to think, when you have a moment like that, you wonder, what does God have in store for me? That He saved me from this incident. What do I have yet to come? And then I started to think, about all those moments that got me here. And that's what I what I switched around. That's what I want to talk to you about tonight. As I look forward to what could be, to possibilities both personal and professional, I have to give thanks for my past, the people and the experiences that have brought me to now, as I stand so proud before you to have been honored with this award. To me, being a leader means lifting others higher than yourself. I first learned this from my mom. Your complete dedication to others and your selfless acts of kindness have instilled in me the desire to do the same for others. Thank you. Being in education demands hard work and constant honing of your craft. Attributes I recognized from an early age in you, Dad, as you'd leave for work before dawn. And you love to learn from this, or to this day. It's no wonder you wound up in education. You also taught me about balance between work and family. Despite your long hours, you always managed to be in the bleachers with Mom at my Carmel games. Being an administrator requires making tough calls, having uncomfortable conversations, and my particular role requires me to constantly push and pull my coworkers out of their comfort zones. As long as I stay true to who I am, I rest well at night. I learn the benefits of staying centered through watching my aunt and uncle. You have remained true to yourselves throughout the ups and downs of your lives, and you continue to live with open and grateful hearts. My role at Carmel challenges me to be collaborative, to look to others for their expertise, to ask for help when I need it, and to support others when they need it. This mirrors the teamwork my husband and I share on a daily basis. Tim, we are constantly in survival mode. We lean on each other, support each other the best way we can. You remind me frequently through Wednesday morning phone calls of your faith in me as a mom and a wife and a school leader. Thank you. And although I tease her for all these things, my sister, my big sister Wendy, has shown me how to gain respect in the workplace, to fight for what you know is right, and that laughter belongs everywhere. My job requires patience. I often need to put myself in another's shoes, and my children keep me well versed in these areas, as I often must ask, what were you thinking? As I try to keep composed among flying Nerf darts, sticky science projects, and the mind-boggling claims of, Mom, there is nothing to eat in this house. You have taught me very clearly that everyone is unique in the ways they give love and the ways they need love. I love discovering that about you. Thank you. I am fortunate to be surrounded by colleagues who excel in their respective fields. I am thankful to my alma mater and the people within it for their guidance when I was a student, a teacher, and now administrator. No one has had more impact on my professional career than my mentor and friend, Lynn Strutzel. You show me each day how to lead with compassion, humility, and confidence. Great leaders inspire others. Lynn, you have not only inspired me, you have shown me daily what it means to lead like Christ. Truly, I stand here today the sum of my experiences with all of you. In my mind, my Receiving the Lamp of Knowledge Award is a clear acknowledgement of the impact my family, coworkers, and Carmel has had on me. And perhaps my little driving mishap this morning was meant as a reminder of these blessings. Leading your best life possible is a criterion for this award. I believe very strongly in that. And most days, I'm successful in living my best life. I am blessed, I'm humbled, I'm inspired to continue giving my best to my family, my faith, and to Carmel Catholic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to receive this award. And as I started thinking about today's presentation and the speech I would give, I have to admit I started remembering some of my high school speeches. To say I just liked getting up in front of a group is the biggest understatement possible. I could condense a 10-minute speech into 3 or 4 minutes. And some of you are probably hoping that I do that tonight. Sorry to disappoint. Although I still hate to get up and give public speeches, I've learned to prepare myself a little better. Now I slow down a little bit and I use technology. First of all, I'd like to briefly turn the tables on the event planning committee and everyone that has worked so hard to make this event so special. It takes countless hours to address all of the little issues that happen behind the scenes. So please join me in expressing our gratitude for all of their work and for those that have worked in the kitchen and the wait staff tonight. In considering where life has led and the people who have inspired me, I need to look first and foremost to my family. Because there are 15 children, in my immediate family it was quite a stretch for us to attend Catholic school. And I doubt that any of us really realized the sacrifices and planning that Mom and Dad did. They literally did everything they could do and then trusted to God for the rest. We were definitely not aware that by attending Carmel, we would be having a firm educational and spiritual foundation laid. It was just school. Having these foundational elements available to us is something that you really only consider later in life. But we do move forward thanks to the opportunities, the blessings, and the challenges that we experience. I can say in my case, the objectives listed in the school goals on the website for Carmel were met. Of course, in my day, there was no website, there was no internet, and I wasn't aware of school goals. During high school, I never felt drawn to the religious life or teaching, but I did know that I wanted to be a nurse. One of my friends started working at Mount St. Joseph with individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. She thought God was calling her. I was supportive of her choice while thinking to myself, no way, not me. I like my freedom. Then over the next year or two, the more I tried to convince myself that God was not calling me, the more apparent it became to those around me that that's exactly what was happening. When one of the sisters asked if I thought I might have a vocation, I almost choked and said, no, I don't. But despite my denial, God was calling me. For a while, I tried to convince myself that I could be a nurse, I could love God, and I could serve others without becoming a nun. It seemed that the more effort I used to push that possibility away, the more the realization only grew stronger. Eventually, I accepted the fact that I thought I might have a religious vocation, but even then, times of peacefulness alternated with trying to talk God out of it. In the end, when I started telling others what I was experiencing, everyone else already had a sense of what had been happening. No one was really surprised by my decision to enter the Daughters of St. Mary of Providence. After I made my decision and I was graduating from nursing school, my mom said that she had been sure she was never going to be a nurse or a nun. So I was definitely not pushed in either direction, but I was never discouraged. Just before I entered the convent, one of my sisters asked, how can you be sure God's calling you and that you're going to be happy? I asked her, how did you know getting married was the right thing for you and that it was going to work out? It was then that she understood there are no guarantees in this life. You need to do whatever you do without looking back. You need to be fully committed and count each day as a blessing. Throughout my life, I've experienced situations that give credence to the fact that God's grace is not limited by our weakness. This was something said by the priest who founded my religious congregation. Father Louis Guinella was declared a saint this past October in Rome. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, he worked tirelessly to promote the dignity of people. He recognized those who were frequently abandoned by society as souls cherished by God. He founded not only my congregation of the Daughters of St. Mary of Providence, but a congregation of priests and brothers who are known as the Servants of Charity. I've been blessed to have opportunities to serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Lake Zurich and Chicago, as well as Northville, Michigan. And remember that I said I had no intention of being a teacher? With this population, you ultimately use teachable moments on a continual basis. But I've also found that we always need to be open to the ways they teach us. They truly have an understanding of things that are essential to living in peace. They teach us about faith, unconditional love, and overcoming challenges. After spending a year of study in Italy, during which I had a better appreciation about not being able to communicate effectively, not knowing the word for something, not knowing how to get from one place to another, or if I was even in the place I was supposed to be. And it's very humbling to have a nonverbal, profoundly impaired individual laugh at you, because when we were talking about Lassie, I used the word for skin instead of hair, saying how dirty Lassie was after being in the mud. But after I returned to the United States, I worked as a registered nurse at a rural hospital in Milbank, South Dakota. After a few years, I was called on to assist in the hospital on an on-call basis and work full-time as the director of nursing in our adjoining home for the elderly. I enrolled in an accelerated program to complete my bachelor's degree in nursing, and that school was 2 hours away, so I was on call for both facilities for whatever situations arose when I was home. After graduating from the accelerated program, I completed additional courses to become a licensed nursing home administrator. I held this office briefly at our home for the elderly in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, before returning to Mount St. Joseph. This past February, I returned to Milbank, South Dakota as administrator, and Sister Esther came to Mount St. Joseph, so we literally flip-flop places. St. Quinella said, "Good example is the most eloquent of all sermons." I've been blessed in having so many people be my role models by their love of God, for their families, and for those in need of care and assistance. These people have preached to me during my entire life. In addition to the example given by my family, I've witnessed so much dedication on the part of our other sisters, our staff, our volunteers, our residents, and even their families. In many of our facilities, there are staff members and volunteers who have assisted us in our ministry for many years. In Milbank, in addition to 25% of our staff having been with the sisters for more than 20 years, it's also common to have several family members from the same family who work at the facility and another family member or two living at the home. Our local parish is only a block away from the nursing home, and the main street of town is within walking distance. So it's nice to be back in a small town. It's a little easier to take more time to visit with our residents and their families, to develop other relationships, and to take account of my relationship with God. St. Louis Quinella said, "Without God's help, we are incapable of doing good, and every good action is marked by His grace." I pray for the ability to correspond with His grace and ask you to keep me in your prayers. My prayer for each of you is also something advised by Father Guanella. Correspond with God's providence. God assigns a special work to each creature. No person can do the work assigned to God for another. Be always ready to act. take God as your partner. Next year, I'll be celebrating my 25th Jubilee of profession of first vows as a daughter of St. Mary of Providence. Sister Esther and I entered the congregation together, and it seems absolutely impossible that it's already been 25 years. It seems even more incredible that it's been 30 years since I graduated from Carmel. Thank you once again for this recognition. Receiving this reward is something completely unexpected. I ask that you continue to pray for vocations to the priesthood and religious life, that you remember me and my congregation in your prayers, and I promise to support you and your families with my prayers. Thank you so much, and God bless.